Hi there. Welcome to Have It All. I am your host and the creator, Anna K. Morris, and I'm thrilled that you're here because if you are here, it means that you're interested in having it all, or maybe you're curious about what I and my guests have to say about having it all. Can we? Do we know what it is that we want? And once we get it, are we wise enough to know that we have it? And are we worthy enough to hold on to it? That's what we'll be exploring on the podcast. I'm so happy you're here, and let's get started. Hi there. I am so excited to bring you this very, very special podcast courtesy of the Love Yourself Summit. If you were not able to attend the Love Yourself Summit, don't worry. I'm going to be bringing you some episodes from the Love Yourself Summit, from the incredible 12 guest experts that we had. So buckle up, take a listen, and I hope you enjoy. Now, oh my goodness, welcome to the second guest of the day with the Love Yourself Summit. I'm so incredibly happy to be here with the beautiful M. Strong and Rachel Madorsky. I love that, Rachel, that you're wearing blue, which is also on your website because I've been all over all your socials and your website. So, and it's such a beautiful color on you. And M, I've been seeing you in leopard all over socials as well. I think I saw you in full leopard bodysuit the other day. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. I was like cheetah, jaguar, leopard. I don't know.
All of it. We watch a lot of Lion King with two little boys in my house. So it feels on brand over here.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then we just got back from Todos Santos, Rachel. So like the navy and the blue, it's the ocean, and then it's very calming and healing, which I also need a lot of, living in a land of two Lion King junkies with these little ones running around. So thank you both so much for being here. I am personally excited that I have your phone numbers, that I get to call you my friends. And when I created this summit and really thought the first step to having a relationship that you love, right, is loving yourself. Because as many relationships as we might have romantically in our lives, last I checked, there's only one person that's staring back at me every morning, right? There's only one person that's always going to be in bed with me, and that's me. And so I think it is important to look at your relationship with yourself first as a place to create anything that you want in your life, right? Whether you're hoping for a relationship or, that you don't have and you'd like to call in 2025, or if you're looking to increase your intimacy in an existing relationship, or if you're really happy being alone right now and you want to enjoy being alone more. That was personally where I started. And so I wanted you all to be here today to really talk about your own journeys in loving yourself, and some of the tactical rituals, I'll call them, because I know that you really both have, Rachel, I know this is a big deal for you to be on a call right now, because Rachel doesn't talk to people before noon, right? So I'm probably just going to go ahead and start with that, because that's so incredible. And I already knew that, but I also want to hear what that looks like and kind of your journey to getting there.
Sure.
If you would, please.
First of all, just to say out loud, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here at 10 a.m. And for anyone listening to the replay, whatever time it is for you, perfect time. And I'm so happy to be connected to you. This is just amazing. And your summit is amazing. I could go on and on, so I'll just give little pieces. You stop me, interrupt me, whatever. So I have lots of policies. I recently started using the word policy instead of boundary, because boundary can feel a little triggery.
I don't like the word boundaries, so I'm happy to have an alternative.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
policy just feels less serious, less triggery. It's just like, these are my policies. And so one of them is um, allow everything, accommodate very little. And that will bring me to the 12 o'clock thing, but I want to give you the broader view of it, which is, again, allow everything, accommodate very little. And to speak briefly on that, people can ask for lots of things. And if we're used to being good girls or trying to be good or wanting to be generous or wanting to be liked or wanting to be approved of, or all the things that we all experience, it can get upsetting and frustrating when people ask of us things we don't actually want to give. And then we feel that tension, or we start feeling resentful of people because they're asking for too much, or whatever it is. This is just a version. But in this policy, allow everything, accommodate very little. It softens the part of me that has any reaction to what anybody wants. And it is so freeing. And how to soften that reaction is to know I actually still get to do what I want. I don't have to control anyone or stop anyone. In fact, when people ask me for things, especially clients, but anyway, I always say, even if it's something I don't want to give, I am so glad you asked. I want people to teach themselves, and I want to teach each other. Ask for every freaking thing you want.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is you say no, but it feels so good to ask for what you want. So I encourage, ask anything of me. It will not upset me. I'll be happy that you asked. And I accommodate very little.
So much. That's so good. I'm like, wait, I'm just like, wait, I could do that like with my mother. I hope she's not listening. But I hear that and I'm like, oh, wow.
My mom, actually, we talked on the phone last night and she asked if she could come to this. And I said no. I told her she could have the replay, but I just didn't want to be distracted because mothers and daughters, and depending on whatever. Please continue.
I am my mom's type person, so I can control this. So she will not be here. So yeah. And also she won't listen to the replay because I'm not going to give her the Zoom link, because when she hears Zoom, it's a hard shutdown. And we actually started the summit with tech stuff not working. And I was like, everybody else, like, who else has tech stuff not work? And we all just become 5-year-olds. It's amazing to see, right? And that's very much the living next door to my mother. I see that a lot. So it's not just us, it's our mothers too. And everybody seems to get really triggered by that.
Right. But just to bring it back to loving ourselves. This is how we improve not only the love that we have here, but the love between us and everyone in our lives, including our mothers, including our best friends, including our whatever it is. And so just to answer that one small question, I don't see clients before noon because I wanted to set up my most ideal life and show people that they can set up their most ideal life. So my mornings are slow. I do my rituals. I snuggle with my husband and my dog. Whatever all the things are that I do, that's what I do. And doing so creates it not just as an action of love here, but the me that I then bring to the people that I get to serve is a way more qualified, caring, like high quality human.
I really want to touch on that, and then Emma, I want to bring you in on this as well, because I think that we've been taught often that loving yourself is selfish, or that doing this like a lot of self-care is indulgent, versus like when I take really great care of myself, everybody benefits. And just that concept of this is what I do for you all to enjoy being around me, but to really reap the benefit of my genius, right? Which I know, like, you are a genius coach. And so I really wouldn't want as a client for you to show up as anything less than that.
Yeah. let's send it to M. I want to also say that I think step one about the whole loving ourselves movement or practice or however you want to look at it is the repeated breaking the myth or our own worries or our own doubts that there's something selfish about it. It is the most generous thing you can do. It's the most generous thing I can do. I have so much more money to contribute because I started loving myself. I have more time. I have more love. I have more of everything to give from a way more authentic place post practicing loving myself than ever before.
Yeah. So welcome.
Yes, love.
What are some of the ways that you have found loving yourself has impacted your life?
Oh, loving myself has impacted my life. What's so interesting is what came through right when you said that was like complete chaos.
Okay.
From a perspective of the invitation to truly fall in love with me required, which isn't a word I usually like to use, me to reorganize stuff in my life. And so, yeah, it can be a very intense process to love yourself.
Well,
From a perspective of loving myself for my relationships, loving myself for who I show up with in my passion, my career, my work, my creativity, all of that can, if you're coming into a place of love when you had been operating from a place of fear, that reorganization can come. And that's not good or bad, you know? So I guess where I'm saying from the piece of the experience of chaos, it's a reorganization.
I love that you acknowledged that it could feel or look like chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all in the framing of everything, right? Like,
and it's also a return to
like chaos, reorganization.
And one of the feelings that weave very closely together for me are love and trust.
Okay. Say more
And
about
so, yeah, I think oftentimes because I have a very pivotal point in my life that felt like this is when the invitation for trust and love got real, like really real.
Would you tell
and Anna knows this point in my life, and it's a lot. I wrote a book called She Finally Believes in Love, and so much of it pivoted through an experience, an intuitive experience where, and that all did pivot for me. It was health, it was relationships, it was career, every piece of that. And I intuitively found a lump in my breast at a very young age to me, 34 years young, which was then told to me that it was fast growing cells, also known as cancer. And so I knew, when I found it, I was standing at my window. I had the Sunday scaries. I was so burnt out I was working in the schools as a psychologist and was in a really tricky relationship and knew that I was not in my truth in lots of ways. And so the invitation to love myself for all the choices that I was in and had made that had brought me to that point, like to really say, like, you did your best, to get here. And let's really dive into where you really want to be. And when you are in a situation of the story that I had around what that means to have that happening in my body, and for my body, it became a very clear, like, okay, if I continue, I don't know how to pivot my career And if I continue this way, I'm not loving myself.
Mhm.
But I do think sometimes in the moment of the trust of I don't know what yet, and I know that the next step is I can't return to
Right.
this job,
Right.
because I'm going to be letting myself down.
Right. Well, and we talked about it in the previous group, in the 9 o'clock group, about like your body just doesn't lie,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, and how true that was for you, right? And it
Yeah.
often, and I think that's the experience for a lot of us. Like I remember I was in pharmaceutical sales for 12 years. And every time I would get a new job, I would break out in debilitating hives that would put me in the hospital. Like my eye would swell shut and I couldn't use it for a week, or like my foot became like a club foot. Like my body is so wise, as was yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then
And
go ahead.
yeah, and to speak to the loving yourself and the ritual piece of it too. I had to me, my ritual was yoga, my ritual was eating healthy, my ritual was running or walking and meditation. And I mean, I felt like I had a lot of that.
Yeah.
So it became an invitation to go deeper and
To what?
really
All right.
to go deeper,
To go
go
deeper.
deeper. And also writing came to me at that point. I think there was an invitation of what ritual of creativity. Like, yes, you cook, and yes, but I wrote whatever it was, 20 to 40 page long, very like statistical recommendations. And there was this part of me that, I've had a journal since I could write, it was like my best friend. It was if I can't tell anybody these scary, dark things or feelings or knowings, or, I can put it here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was where I could express, and it really brought me into a new ritual of creativity. And through that, I could see the love. And the thread that I would return to was like, love yourself even in this, and love yourself even though this happened. And that's something that I return to. Like, I've returned to my morning pages. I'm like, girl, like, walking and writing, move your body. It's ridiculous. You have enough time. My policies are not the 12 o'clock as Rachel's are, which I love.
I think they might be. I could see that happening for you.
I could, but also like my design also is like, sometimes I'm just like,
yeah,
so love the 12 o'clock and totally could see that happening for me. I'm not opposed.
Well, I want to ask Rachel, because I think that you hit on something really interesting, and we so frequently are quick to subscribe to like loving ourselves looks a certain way, right? And the topic of our meeting today is like how to love yourself and rituals to practice. And so people assume like, oh, spa day and yoga and a bubble bath and all these things. But you said something that's really interesting. It's creativity. And you said something about cooking, and you said something about writing. And Rachel, we haven't talked much about this, but it's been something that I've always wanted to talk to you about, which I think you probably know where I'm going with this, is that you have an improv theater.
Yes.
With your husband, which
Yes.
For me personally, like, I know that you have a lot of accolades and that you're an incredible coach and all of that. But when I met you, I was like, she has what? She has an improv theater? Because that for me,
that's right,
was like the thing where I was like, she's literally the coolest person in my whole world right now, because improv got me through my miscarriage. When I could not get out of bed for a month, it was an improv class that I went to in Austin at the Zach Theater. And I hope that my teacher one day will come on one of these summits. Kevin Miller, if you're listening, do you know Kevin Miller? You probably
Yes, I do
Yeah.
very well.
So Kevin was and he recently fell in love and is like living in Amsterdam and all these things. And I follow him on social media, and I'm like, I want him and his wife to come on one of the couples summits. But it was that class. And I remember like, I don't really love going out at night. Like I'm kind of a hermit. And it was like at nighttime, and I would get in the car and drive at night. I sound like such an old lady. And I would go there, and it saved my life.
Mm.
And it was that kind of like unabashed creativity, the ridiculousness of it all. And so I'm curious about your experience with creativity as a way to love yourself, and what you've seen both in your life and in your practice.
Okay. I mean, first, I just want to acknowledge what you said. I mean, it's so beautiful and raw and real, both of you. I love, to me, part of loving yourself is the courage to be authentic. And there's no higher value, honestly, than being real for me. It's how we actually feel each other and see each other and connect. And so I just want to say that to both of you, and appreciate that about both of you. So for me, I had a therapist when I was at like the young, tender age of 30 something. And I started to play the guitar. Okay, so a friend came over and taught me like 3 chords.
Okay.
And 2 weeks later, he came over and he said, "Did you write any songs yet?" I thought he was joking. Like, "You just taught me 3 chords and it's been 2 weeks." And he's like, "That's all you need." And so I was brand new. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew 3 chords, and he put the idea in my head that you don't need training or experience to create. I mean, I'd already been creative and perform, but this was just like a new. So I started writing songs, and I shared it with my therapist. And I'll never forget this. I think because sometimes we don't fully understand something, it actually sticks our attention. We hold it for a long time till we kind of integrate it and figure it out. And something she said was that, and I was really depressed at the time, is keep following your creativity. That the creativity will help heal and resolve things. And again, it didn't make sense to me yet, but I trusted her so much, and I did. And so I think a part of loving yourself is actually asking the question, because it might be different for all of us. I might be, don't talk to me till 12. Em might be, call me at 10. I don't know,
Yeah.
But it's what does it really look like for me? What does loving myself look like for me? And even if we don't have a clear answer, we can ask, what's the most loving thing I can do next? What do I feel like doing? And just saying yes to it. And so, quick story, how I found improv is I went to undergraduate to be an actor. Everyone went off to LA and New York, and I did not have the self-esteem to go to either of those places. They scared me. And I knew like helping people was the next other thing I loved to do. I got my master's. I became a psychotherapist. I was in private practice. I wake up one day completely depressed. So I'm a depressed psychotherapist.
Perfect.
Get that.
I'm so excited to partner you guys up.
And when I went to acting school, the one thing that scared the shit out of me that I would never do was improv, because I just thought that was crazy. Go on a stage with no script. Like, no.
It's so crazy. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I was depressed for the second time, like really serious, I just had this sense that what I needed was to laugh. I just needed to go someplace and laugh. So I took an improv class in UT Informal Classes. I loved it. The second class, there was a substitute, and Tyler Bryce, and he said, "You should come audition for Comedy Sports in Austin." And I did, and it changed my life in every way, to the point where sometimes I just go and teach other therapists or other coaches about improv, because there's so much inside of it that lets us be who we are, be relaxed in the moment, take risks, but also feel safe doing so. I mean, there's just so many things, even saying yes to yourself.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question. I have no idea where we are.
No, totally did. Well, and I mean,
Perfect.
Em and I were talking the other night. I was wanting to watch a movie, and I was like, "Do you have a movie recommendation? Like, what could I even watch?" Because I just know that I want to feel good, and so I don't want to watch most things, right? And you had recommended Happiness for Beginners, right, Em?
Mhm.
I still haven't watched, but I will. But often the reason that I can't find anything is because I know I need to laugh. I think especially if you're in a giving kind of career as a coach or a therapist or energy healer or whatever, like we get in there with people. And while it's beautiful and I know it's what I'm meant to be doing, like I also need the balance of like the levity, right? When you're in and like with people and like seeing humanity and the hardships of it at times and the lows. It's like I love that Netflix pops up with like Nate Barsgate. Is that how you say his last name? Right? Like what pops up in my feed for Netflix is like all stand-up comedy. Because I think that laughter, I mean, not to be cliche, like really is the best medicine sometimes. It is the elixir that can help us.
Alchemy.
Yeah. Okay. Say more about alchemy. Okay, because you're in the energy.
Well, that's what I kept thinking. I was like, it's alchemizing. It's alchemizing. I mean, I think about, and I also just kind of to go off into my world. I was recently in an activation process, if you will, and people would just spontaneously start laughing.
Yeah.
And it's contagious,
Yeah.
It's like when we're in it and we're taking it so seriously, and it's like someone starts laughing, and I mean, you shake, we're just getting in our bodies, and you can feel the levity that comes from, like, it's like when someone tickles you or jabs you and you just have to,
It's like you think about, funerals. Like there's always like somebody. I was just at a funeral on Saturday, so it's kind of on my mind. But there's always somebody that's laughing that like knows they're not supposed to, but it's like this nervous kind of, I don't know what to do. There's so many feelings and emotions, and the way that it comes out sometimes is, laughter. And I always love that person at a funeral. I am sometimes that person, but I was sitting next to a woman who was making me laugh through the funeral. Right? She was like, "Buckle up." I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "The program is 15 pages, so I hope you brought your." We're going to be here a while. It turned out to be a full church service. So, but it was so funny. Like I asked how her husband was doing, and she was like, "Which one?" And I was like, "Jim." And she was like, "Oh, he died 10 years ago." And I was like, "Oh, well, sounds like he's doing fine then." And then she said, and she was like, "But there's a new Jim." And I was like, "How's he doing?" She was like, "He's doing great." So, but it was so nice to like lighten the
levity. Yeah.
the
It's
mood.
like levity.
Yeah, the levity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as a psychotherapist, Rachel, I'm curious, like, is there, because it feels like we're going down a laugh track, right? Because I know, having a background as a yoga teacher, I used to take a laughter yoga class from like, you guys are probably both familiar with like laughter centers. They're all over India and they're nowhere else really, right? But there's one in New York, there's one in Times Square. And I used to go to this guy who was like the founder of laughter yoga movement. But the whole concept is that your body reaps the benefits of laughter, whether there's a stimulus or not. And that's what I was curious if you have. I'm sure, Rachel, that you've talked about that with improv, and I'm curious for your thoughts on that.
I mean, yes. My quick thought is yes. I think what I want to say that might be helpful is that we get so serious, and we get so serious about the things that we want to resolve in our life.
Yeah.
And we've probably all heard this quote, I don't know, from Einstein, which is, you cannot solve a problem at the same level of consciousness that created it. I might be paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And so our thinking mind is actually not the place to feel better. But when we're worrying or ruminating, there's some part of us that's trying to help us move through something. But that's actually not the place where the clarity is or where the answers are. It's more here in our heart and in our body. And so another thing about that is sometimes if we've been suffering for a long time about something, and someone introduces a potential solution, if the solution feels too easy, we will not accept it because on some level, we feel like we are betraying the part of us that has suffered.
Yeah.
Or then we're going to be minimizing what we've been through. And so our ego, we can't handle it.
Right.
But, and the reason why I'm bringing all this in is to say children, as I know you know, because you've got them, can be laughing 1 second, crying 1 second, show them a lollipop and they're happy again. But the thing is we're actually designed that way too. We are designed that way. And so anything that we can do to move through the feelings, yes, feel terrible, but don't make feeling terrible like a commitment. Just feel the feelings.
Yeah.
And so there's also a way we suffer because we don't want to feel things. And so what's happening is we're actually feeling the pain of the resistance, not the actual feeling. So the more we can feel all the things, feel how bad it feels, and then let it be all right to feel good or do. During the pandemic, Dave, my husband, introduced couch karaoke to me, where we just sit on the couch and like do karaoke off of YouTube. And it was wonderful. And so laughter is so valuable. It's so healing. And I'm sure you have plenty to say this. So that's all I want to say is just don't be afraid to like let something be easy, even if it's been hard for a long time. That is actually how to move through and get new solutions and new levels of healing.
Oh, I really love that. And did you want to jump in on that? You love
I love that we went down a laughter thing. Partly because this is like it's re-inspiring and sparking the silly part of me because I can get serious. And I'm thinking about my boo. I think he's lovingly getting groceries for us right now. And when to speak of loving yourself and also through loving myself have found a partner that experiencing a beautiful, deep, all the thing love with. And when we met, I was very much in this, I'm loving myself. I remember also being in that space of like remembering how funny and fun life gets to be, and I get to be, and this gets to be. And like my two mantras were fun and love and fun and love. And I remember when we chose to date, my boo and I did, he said, I need someone when I met you, I realized I needed more of those hugs and laughs in my life. And that to me is like talk about rituals for love. For me, it's like, give me a hug. Like I love to be hugged and to think like that's what love gets to be is hugs and laughs.
Yeah.
And can it be that easy? Like, can it be that easy?
I mean, I had to laugh out loud, Rachel, when you said that about like that we are so resistant to when it's easy. Derek asked me out for 10 years. 10 years of suffering in New York, dating and sleeping with all of the wrong guys, right? And every Christmas, he'd be like, hey, if you're around, maybe I'll see you. I'm like, that's also not really asking somebody out, but whatever. It was his version of it, right? And I'm like, I had known him. We have baby pictures together.
Wow.
There's never a time in my life that he hasn't been there. But what made the difference was that I started loving myself. So that was first and foremost. but M, to the title of your book. I mean, the titles of your book, guys, are so spot on. I didn't even realize it when I asked you to be on this summit. I was like, well, shit, Rachel wrote a book called How to Love Yourself, and M wrote a book called She Finally Believes in Love. So M, on your book title, I could see through working with coaches and yoga and all the self-love that I didn't actually believe that it was right. I hadn't seen it in my family, and I could tell you all of the examples, right? It's always perspective. And I had to take a look and say, well, is that the truth? Is that the truth? Could I be, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong is my favorite thing to ask myself. What if I'm wrong? Right. And, to the letting it be easy, Rachel, yes. And I think that sometimes we can really hang on to the suffering, and it's almost, I could feel for myself like a guilt that I had, right? Because it hadn't been in my family. And I have even resisted moving into relationship coaching because feeling guilty sometimes that I have this and my mother didn't.
Yes. This is so important, what you're speaking to. Okay. Let's bring in another word into our love cauldron here.
Yes, I love cauldron. Yes.
And the word is receiving. Receiving. I did not know what receiving was.
Yeah.
And I was what'd you say, Anne?
I said full body chills, like what you just said, receiving, yes.
So I think we are all familiar with taking. And we're all familiar with feeling empty. Receiving is when something comes toward you and you actually let it in and can have it and enjoy it. And a ritual practice that we can all do is just simply practice receiving better, more often and better. And that might just look like the next time someone tries to give me something, I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say thank you. Yes. And so, not to get into a giant thing, but I'm sure many of you have heard the idea of upper limits. Please read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's one of the best books other than mine and M's. all three of these books are life changers. I promise. And they all go well together. But the idea, I think I might have just gotten myself a little off track, but the idea is that the more we receive, the more filled up we feel, the more we can give. And there are certain things inside of us, like this phenomena where we're only allowed to have it this good, this much love, this much comfort, this much money, this much whatever. We hit a set point, and it's often connected to our families, obviously.
100%.
And what happens is if we start receiving more than is normal for us, it actually starts feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so we have to consciously notice it and be like, wow, this is how much good I feel comfortable with.
Right.
And I'm going to intentionally practice letting myself have more. Guilt is just an indicator that we've reached a spot where we're like, that's how good we're allowed to have it. But we breathe and we expand and we practice allowing more and more. So that ceiling becomes the floor.
You said it in a really kind way. And I just want to point to the way that it looks in my life, which is not that it's uncomfortable, but I will straight up self-sabotage it. And what that looks like is every time we're about to go on vacation, I'll pick a fight. Right?
Can I just jump in and say, you are so not alone. I love you for saying that. My husband the day he tried to propose to me.
Yeah. What'd you do?
Oh my God. I made it the worst weekend ever. I hated everything. No matter where he took me, it was terrible. I mean, I could not receive at that level. I just had to ruin every freaking thing. But I do want to say that I've decided to change the word sabotage to safetage. I call it safetage because the only thing that's happening is our nervous system is like, this is too much. I can't take it. It's not safe.
Yeah.
And
100%.
and that's all that's happening. So the more we can be nice to ourselves and laugh and share like how we're sharing, the more it softens and moves on.
Exactly. Well, and I know the last time I went to go, because it was always when we were like driving to the beach. And like, it's the beach. You don't need to be there by a certain time. You just get there when you get there. Like, it's relaxed. Not if I'm running the show though. And so it would just get later and later. And the last time it happened, before I started it, I could feel myself like ratcheting it up. And Derek looked at me and he was like, "Are you about to do it?" And I was like, "The fight?" And he was like, "Yeah, I can feel it. Is it coming? Is it right now? Is it going to happen right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's right there. I'm pretty mad right now. I think I could do it or not." And he was like, "You want to try not?" And I was like, "I think that would feel really good." Yeah, I think let's do that. Like, but we acknowledged the pattern and said like, "Hey, I know that like this is a lot for you to take in, how happy you are and how great your life is. And you're going to let it be that good. And I know that's scary for you." And so I think in partnership, knowing and understanding ourselves and also our partners, when we start to get to that upper limit and just like naming it and laughing about how ridiculous it is, this human beingness of us, right? Like that we would sabotage or sabotage something that feels good is hilarious, actually. It's like no other animal does that. My dogs sleep all day long. They do nothing. They're not feeling guilty about it. They're napping. Right.
Yeah.
So I
I
think,
mean, I still do it. I mean, I think one thing I want to say about self-love is, yes, we're in this school called life and we get so much better. And I think part of loving ourselves is the agreement that I'm not going to withhold love or kindness from myself no matter what I'm doing. When I'm being my best or when I'm being my worst, I'm still going to like be a best friend here. I'm still going to flow love here and not be cruel and not be critical. And I think that's why self-love is a practice.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, I love that. I mean, you wrote a book called How to Love Yourself. And I think it's really easy to talk about loving ourselves when we're proud or when we're happy or fulfilled. And that's not where it really matters. Right. It's like, I remember when I started doing a lot of work on myself and I was in a landmark forum, I think, which I know you've done as well. And I think Rachel, have you as well? You're familiar?
Similar, different, but similar.
Okay. And I remember like being, at the microphone in front of hundreds of people in New York. And like, I mean, I was owning the room. Everybody loved me. I was having these breakthroughs. It was so great. And then I went home and did the homework and realized that I had cheated on every boyfriend I'd ever had. And I remember sharing that the next day in front of hundreds of people on a microphone. And especially the men in the room fucking hated me. Right? People came up to me and really hated me because I embodied so much of like their pain and things that had happened in their lives. And like, I was just like the person that got it. And I remember that I'm even able to say it is an act of loving myself. Right. And my first step towards loving myself with my shame and with my guilt and with my embarrassment and disrespect, right, happened at that microphone when I was like, I'm just not going to hide the dark parts too. Because all parts of us get to be here. And I can only have as much light as I'm willing to look at the darkness. And so the love needs to go to all of those parts, right? Like I'm raising two little boys, and it's like there are parts of them that I really don't like, and I love them. And so we're quick to hide parts of ourselves, or, yeah, it just doesn't, it's the resistance I'm realizing, Rachel, and what you were saying earlier on. It's when we're resisting the feeling rather than like, wow, I feel that. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to sneeze in our
It's okay.
summit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you want to hop in on any of that? Like looking at the dark parts? Cause I know that you had a lot that when you started kind of waking up, not kind of, but radically waking up, right?
Yeah. Well, and Anna's heard this story before, I think. I think everybody's heard these stories.
No, some
The other
people
day
don't know you at all.
I was sharing a story about this with friends, and they looked over at Al and they were like, "Have you heard this story?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "What?"
What's the story?
But in my, awakening, I guess you can. You're awake. I think I've always been awakening. But the intense period of making different life choices for my health. I had started chemotherapy, and was very much in the depths of it, and also the curiosity of whether this was the path that I felt like was right for me, because I didn't know how to do it, and I also didn't know how to not do it, and was staying with my mom post surgery for just to have support in lots of ways. So I'm just to like set the scene. I'm down the hallway from my mom in like a twin bed. And it's, that typical time, probably 3-ish in the morning. And it was a sweaty night, which you often have in certain ways, because people go through what's called chemo pause. So it was like I was having a hot flash, and then all the other things that are going on. And so I'm in this like kind of almost trancy state of, what, kind of unsure, and woke up with this very like dark feeling. And I turned my head because I was like, there's something like, what is like, what? And I looked, and I literally, there was an image or there was a black hooded figure over me. And I closed my eyes and I turned my head, and I was like, you cannot take me yet. Like, you can't take me. I'm not done. And I woke up in the morning. Well, kept my eyes closed for like a really like long enough, and I opened them again, and I looked to the side, and it was, it was just the room. And I woke up. I eventually fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning, and I'm like making coffee with my mom, and I'm like, like she's not a woman. Like I'm also like thinking there was a part of me that wanted to scream, but like, how do I scream with my mom and then say to her, like, there's, like, she's going to be like, you're going to the hospital. And I'm like, no, right. That's not what I'm trying to do here. Like, but the amount of self-love it took in that moment too, to be like, it's okay that just happened. And the self-love that came through to, in some ways, to parent myself, because at that time I really didn't have friends who would have understood that. I mean, I had a couple, but I don't know that I knew that it would have been safe at that time to share it. So I mean, right. I can see myself back in that, like, my mom doesn't have a huge kitchen, and we're up, making coffee together, and I'm getting my gratitude, because I did have a routine of like, I sit outside, I write thank you cards to people who have been supporting me, just, getting into that gratitude. And I had my my banana, like all these things that I would make in my bone broth, and because there was the nourishing time for myself, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, what is this? So to speak to yes, I literally faced the darkness and said, I don't know. I didn't know at that time, like, how I was going to truly choose to be here. And I see that we're going to wrap it up, but that was a huge literal facing of darkness and
Well,
choosing.
and then didn't you have, because we talked in the 9 o'clock session about like our little whispers, the divine God, because you then also stopped undergoing chemo.
I did. And speaking of levity, as soon as I had that conversation,
Yeah.
the nurse, who I swear she's an angel, I wrote her a thank you note and it came back to me. I'm like, do you exist? I just said, yeah, I'm done. I'm complete. And I felt myself I lifted off the chair.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Then choosing me.
Yeah. So I want to open it up to any questions that people may have. And thank you so much for sharing that. Like I have heard that story. I will never tire of hearing that story. Because I think that, when I asked you both to be here and to be together, that was very specific, because I know that you both are masterful in loving yourself and all that means. Right? Like, yeah, we're talking. We're running the gamut on this one, right? With the laughter, like, let's lean into laughter. Then like, oh, the Grim Reaper was there, and I said no, thank you, go away, and here we are, right? And so I think to have faith that when it's all twisty and turvy and depression and all the things, that we remember a way to get up out of bed is what I really wanted people to hear from you both. And that's why I think like the knowing ourselves and the rituals that we have to come home to ourselves is so incredibly important. Yeah. So let me just pop over to the chat and see if anybody has any questions, or if you guys want to raise your hand and ask any questions. Okay. We don't have any questions in the group chat just yet. So why don't you guys unmute yourselves if you would. And then if you wanted to wrap up, just share something that you're taking into this new year, right? A way that you're really looking to maybe love yourself more, or do less of, do more of, whatever is on your heart. I'd love to hear from both of you. Rachel,
And do you want me to go? Okay.
Yeah, go girl.
I would say two things. One is I'm really craving this just being real. And this is how I am, I feel, in my life. But I'm not on social media. I don't do any of those things. And I feel just like maybe I'll let you see a little bit more, because maybe that will serve you in your heart a little bit more. So something about being real and kind of real and revealing it.
I love
and
that.
The other thing is all of my dreams just came true.
I know.
And kind of like what you were saying, sort of like a reorganization is happening. And so for me, I have this dream house I always wanted. We've been renting the same house for 20 years because I didn't want to buy anything unless it was my dream. And also I needed to create the money for it. And just so dream house, relationship, like I have pinch me moments on the regular. And so for this year, I want to get comfortable having it be this good while I help other women get comfortable having it be whatever their ideal good is. But we're allowed to have it good. And I want to be a stand for that for all of us.
You know, I love that, Rachel. And I've seen I've seen your backyard of your dream home, which literally looks like a botanical garden. Like I was like, that's still your yard. That's still your yard, right? It's amazing. And I think it's so helpful to reveal and be real with people. And like you even sharing that you rented your house for 20 years, like that already helps people to be like, oh, it took a while. Like, you know, that we, you know, like that's, I mean, we're renting our house. People are like, why don't you buy your house? And I'm like, well, because I don't really love it. It's not perfect. It's not that I'm looking for perfect necessarily, but like, I actually know I'm not supposed to. That's why. And that's a perfect reason to not do something. And I don't know what it is, but I know it's not this. And so I think that's what I find really helpful about the summit is like that we're willing to reveal ourselves in hopes that other people will hear their own humanity.
I want to reveal one other thing. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay.
It came up earlier and I didn't and just,
yeah.
I'm smiling. It's really heavy. But again, it's like once you get comfortable being both, you can be. So I've had several miscarriages, but one of them, maybe it was the first one, was the day before I got my first national commercial. And so I practice this skill of having a behind the scenes, you know, of just like, it's not about being fake. It's just about like compartmentalizing and, you know, whatever. Yeah. And so it was a Purina cat chow commercial.
Okay.
And they came to my office to shoot this commercial. And obviously I was in a lot of emotional pain, but I just wanted to share. It's like, especially women. I mean, we're the most powerful human beings. And when we add love, like we give so much love, and when we just turn it this way and bring it here, what we are capable of is just so unstoppable. And so I remember the director being really impressed because I had to say, I think the line was something, I'm a cat person. I love my cat because she makes me feel good even when I feel like crying, like something about crying. I had a lot of access to tears, you know, that day.
Like, that was no problem.
And he was like, that was so good. And what had to happen for that to be so good? But it's okay. I just want to say, like, it's okay. Even when it isn't okay, it's okay. Everything is okay. And when we love ourselves, we create an environment where like everything is okay. And when we share with each other, we remind each other that like everything is okay. What you've been through is okay. I wish you didn't have to, but you are okay. And we're making it through and we're in it together. And that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, I love that. Perfect way to wrap us up. And anything you want to share about bringing in for 2025? And
I love the real and the humanizing of it. I feel like there can be a lot of smoke and mirrors, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think in self-love is realizing, that everyone is human. Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. So.
Well, I mean, thank you both so much. I mean, you're 2 of 13 guests, and I will say the common denominator when I really look at you all is the realness, right? That's so attractive to me. It is my favorite quality in people. I don't think I had language around it or necessarily recognized it, but like that's the common denominator. I am not interested in anything being perfect, in the smoke and mirrors, right? I call bullshit on all of it because I just think that it's way more fun and interesting the highs are only as high as the lows will go, right? Like people are like, I just want to be happy. I'm like, no, you don't. You actually don't. Like, we're here for all of it. I think that we want to be happy and then we want to be sad because then we want to be happy again. And it's all of it. We are moving through everything. So thank you both so much. This has been amazing. I love you. And I'll see you guys for the next guest. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. It is an honor and a privilege to have this conversation with you as we expand in the world. What is it that we want? Do we believe that we can have it all? I hope this episode gave you some insights and some things to think about, and most importantly, some actions to go and take in your own life. If one of those actions is reaching out to me, I'm so thrilled and honored. You can always find me on my website, annakmorris.com, and you can always send me an email, hello@annakmorris.com. DM, texting, if you have my number, any of that is great too, and I would love to be in touch with you and help you have it all. I love you, and thank you so much for being here.